The stars looked peaceful that morning. Earth spun quietly in its corner of the galaxy, unaware that 12 objects were racing toward it through the darkness of space. The people of Earth went about their normal lives. Children went to school. Workers traveled to their jobs. Families ate breakfast together. No one knew that everything was about to change. High Commander Vex Ron of the Zekthar Sovereignty stood on the bridge of his flagship. His 6 eyes gleamed with satisfaction as he watched the tactical display. 12 green dots moved steadily toward the blue planet on the screen. Earth, a primitive world, barely capable of space travel. Weak, defenseless, perfect. How long until impact? Vex Ron asked. 20 minutes, High Commander. His tactical officer responded. All missiles are on target. The humans will not see them coming until it is too late. Vexron clicked his mandibles together in what passed for a smile among his species. The Zekthar had studied Earth for 3 cycles. They had watched the humans build their first clumsy starships. They had monitored their primitive communications. The intelligence reports were clear. Earth had resources the sovereignty needed. Rare minerals, water, genetic material, and the humans were too weak to defend themselves. The Galactic Council would protest, of course. They always did. But by the time they organized a response, Earth would already be under Zekthar control. The humans would surrender quickly after seeing the power of sovereignty weapons. Most species did. A show of overwhelming force, a few million casualties, and then the survivors would beg for mercy. It was a proven strategy. It had worked on 17 other worlds. 15 minutes, the tactical officer announced. Vexron settled into his command chair. This would be easy. On Earth, the first alarms began to sound. Deep space monitoring stations had finally detected the incoming missiles. The objects were moving at incredible speed, their plasma fusion warheads burning bright enough to be seen by telescopes. At the North American Defense Command, General Sarah Morrison stared at the screen in disbelief. 12 missiles, each one powerful enough to destroy a continent. They had less than 15 minutes. Launch all interceptors, she shouted. Everything we have, move. Around the planet, humanity's defense systems came alive. It was a network built over 50 years, designed to protect Earth from asteroids and hostile spacecraft. Missile silos opened, orbital platforms activated, laser batteries powered up. Every defensive weapon humanity possessed turned toward the incoming threat. The interceptors launched. Rockets screamed into space. Energy weapons fired continuous beams. Nuclear-tipped missiles raced to meet the Zekthar weapons. Earth's defenders had trained for this moment, even though they had never truly believed it would come. The first Zekthar missile exploded in space, caught by 3 interceptors at once. Then the second. Then the third. In the command center, Morrison watched the tactical display with fierce concentration. Keep firing. Don't let any through. The 4th missile died. The 5th. The 6th. Humanity's defenders worked with desperate precision. Every weapons officer, every targeting computer, every tracking station focused on stopping the attack. 7 down, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1 missile remaining, an officer called out. 15 seconds to impact. Every available interceptor converged on the last missile. Laser beams slashed through space. Rockets exploded in proximity bursts. But the Zekthar weapon was too close, moving too fast, protected by defensive shields that deflected the attacks. Impact in 5, 4, 3. Morrison closed her eyes. 2, 1. The missile struck the Atlantic Ocean 300 miles east of Florida. The plasma fusion warhead detonated with the force of 1,000 nuclear bombs. The ocean itself seemed to explode. A fireball rose into the sky, visible from space. The shockwave radiated outward in a perfect circle. Then the water came. Tsunamis 200 feet high raced toward the coastlines. They hit the Caribbean islands first, sweeping over them completely. Then Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas. The waves crashed inland for miles, destroying everything in their path. Cities vanished under the wall of water. Millions of people had no time to run, no place to hide. Across the Atlantic, the waves struck Europe and Africa. Portugal, Spain, Morocco, Senegal. More millions drowned. The ocean swallowed coastal cities in seconds. When the water finally retreated hours later, entire regions had been erased from the map. On the Zekthar flagship, Vexron watched the damage reports with satisfaction. 47 million human casualties, his tactical officer reported. Major cities destroyed. Infrastructure devastated. Excellent, Vexron said. Open communication channels. The humans will want to surrender now. They waited. The communication channels remained silent. Send the surrender demands, Vexron ordered. Standard terms. Complete submission to sovereignty authority. The message was transmitted. They waited again. Still silence. Are their communications damaged? Vexron asked, confused. No, High Commander. Our sensors show their satellite network is intact. They can receive our messages. Then why do they not respond? The tactical officer had no answer. On Earth, in deep bunkers and fortified command centers, humanity's leaders gathered. President, generals, admirals, scientists, engineers. They had all seen the death toll. 47 million people, entire families gone. Cities turned to graves. General Morrison stood before the emergency council. Her face was hard as stone. We intercepted 11 out of 12 missiles with a defense system we built in peacetime. Now we need to discuss what we build for war. The president looked around the room. Every face showed the same expression, not fear, not despair, rage. How long until we can mobilize? The president asked. 6 months, the head of Space Command replied. Maybe less if we convert everything. Then we start today, the president said quietly. Every factory, every shipyard, every resource. We document every single person we lost. We remember every name, and then we show these aliens what happens when you attack Earth. Morrison nodded. What about responding to their surrender demands? The president's expression was cold. We send them nothing. Let them wonder. Let them wait. And when we're ready, we'll deliver our response in person. In the ruins of flooded cities, rescue workers searched for survivors. In hospitals, doctors worked around the clock. In homes around the world, families mourned their dead. And in space, in hidden facilities on the moon and in asteroid belts, humanity began to build. The Zekthar had fired 12 missiles at Earth expecting submission. They had made a terrible mistake. 6 months had passed since the attack. From orbit, Earth looked like it was recovering. Construction crews worked on rebuilding the coastal cities. Ships moved supplies across the oceans. Satellite networks buzzed with communications. To the Zekthar observers watching from their distant ships, it looked like humanity was simply cleaning up and getting back to normal life. They were looking at the surface. They did not see what was happening below. Commander Yuri Volkov stood in the lunar shipyard and watched the workers. Thousands of them, moving like ants across the massive construction frames. Sparks flew from welding torches. Robotic arms lifted hull plates into position. Transport shuttles carried materials from Earth and from the asteroid mines. The shipyard had not existed 7 months ago. Now it was the size of a small city. How many ships? Volkov asked the engineer beside him. 283 completed, the engineer replied, checking her datapad. Another 17 will be ready by next week. We'll hit 300 total. Volkov nodded slowly. 300 warships, built in 6 months. Every nation on Earth had contributed. Every resource that could be spared had been poured into this project. Humanity had not built ships for exploration or trade. They had built ships for one purpose only: war. The ships were not beautiful. They were not elegant like the vessels other species flew. They were brutal and functional. Thick armor plating, massive railguns, nuclear missile batteries. Fusion engines pushed far beyond normal safety limits because humanity did not care about safety anymore. They cared about speed and firepower. Have we finished the documentation project? Volkov asked. The engineer's face became somber. Yes, sir. All 47 million victims. Every name, every face, every story we could recover. The memorial database is complete. 47 million. Volkov had reviewed some of the files. Maria Gonzalez, age 7, who loved painting. Dr. James Chen, who had been working on cancer research. The Okonkwo family. 3 generations living together in Lagos. Students, workers, artists, parents, children. Gone in an instant because aliens had decided Earth was easy prey. Upload the database to every ship, Volkov ordered. I want every crew member to be able to access it. They should know who they're fighting for. Yes, sir. Volkov walked along the observation deck, looking at the fleet taking shape. Behind him, the engineer worked on her datapad, but then she stopped. Sir, there's something else. The intelligence division has sent their report. Show me. The engineer pulled up a holographic display. Star maps appeared, showing Zekthar territory. Red markers indicated military bases. Blue markers showed the locations of civilian colonies. Yellow markers highlighted industrial centers. Our infiltration teams used captured Zekthar technology to access their networks, the engineer explained. We know where everything is. Their shipyards, their command centers, their supply routes. We even know which facility manufactured the missiles that hit us. Volkov studied the map carefully. One yellow marker pulsed brighter than the others. Kresval Station? Yes, sir. That's where all 12 missiles were built. The facility specializes in heavy plasma fusion weapons. Volkov stared at that marker for a long moment. 47 million people had died because of weapons built there. Mark it as priority target alpha. That will be our first strike. The engineer hesitated.
Sir, the Galactic Council has been sending messages.
They want both sides to negotiate. They're offering to mediate. I'm sure they are, Volkov said coldly. What do the politicians say? Earth's government sent a response yesterday. They told the Council that we will accept nothing less than unconditional Zekthar surrender and full accountability for the attack. No negotiation. No compromise. Volkov smiled grimly. Good. The politicians had a spine after all. Across the solar system, in asteroid bases and orbital platforms, similar scenes were playing out. Admiral Lisa Chen inspected the nuclear weapons division on Ceres Station. The missiles were ready, each one 100 times more powerful than the bombs dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Humanity had learned much about splitting atoms since 1945. These are beyond anything we've ever built, the weapons chief told her. If we use them, we'll use them, Chen said firmly. The Zekthar wanted to see what humanity is capable of when pushed. We'll show them. In Earth orbit, the Cyber Warfare Division worked day and night. Young programmers and artificial intelligence specialists had studied captured Zekthar computer systems. They had found vulnerabilities, backdoors, ways to infiltrate alien networks and turn their own systems against them. It's actually easier than we expected, one programmer explained to his supervisor. The Zekthar have never faced serious cyber attacks. Their security is designed to keep out physical threats, not digital ones. We can slip right through. On Mars, the military academies trained new officers in accelerated programs. The trainees were young, many barely out of their teens, but they learned fast. They studied tactics. They practiced zero-gravity combat. They ran simulations until they could fly the new warships in their sleep. All across human space, the species that had split the atom, walked on the moon, and built robots to explore other planets was now focused on a single goal. The Zekthar had made humanity angry. That was their first mistake. They had assumed humanity would stay scared. That was their second. High Commander Vexron paced on his flagship bridge. 6 months of silence from Earth. 6 months of watching and waiting. His superiors were growing impatient. The Galactic Council was asking uncomfortable questions. Report, he demanded. The humans continue reconstruction efforts, his intelligence officer said. Our scouts detect normal industrial activity. Shipping traffic, communications, nothing unusual. Nothing unusual, Vexron repeated. They lost 47 million citizens and they act like nothing happened? Perhaps they are in shock, the officer suggested. Or perhaps they are simply resilient. Vexron did not like either explanation. The humans should have surrendered by now. Every other species had. What made these primitives different? Maintain observation, he ordered, and request reinforcements from the home world. Something about this situation feels wrong. On the moon, in the main command center, Admiral Chen addressed the assembled fleet commanders via holographic link. 300 officers looked back at her from 300 different ships. 6 months ago, the Zekthar attacked our world without warning and without mercy, Chen said. Her voice was steady but cold as ice. They killed 47 million of our people. Children, parents, friends. They killed them to make us afraid, to make us kneel, to make us surrender. She paused, looking at each commander in turn. We will not kneel. We will not surrender. And we will not forget. Chen activated a display showing the Zekthar star system. This is Kresval Station, where the weapons that struck Earth were manufactured. In 72 hours, we will destroy it completely. This is not revenge. This is justice. This is a message to the galaxy that humanity will not tolerate attacks on our world. One of the younger commanders raised his hand. Admiral, what about civilian casualties? Kresval Station has workers' families. Our intelligence confirms Kresval is a military installation only, Chen interrupted. No civilian population, but I want to be clear with all of you. We are not targeting non-combatants. We will destroy the Zekthar military. We will dismantle their ability to wage war. But we will not become like them. We fight with honor, even when they did not. The commanders nodded. They understood. 72 hours, Chen repeated. Prepare your crews, check your systems, and remember why we're doing this. The holographic conference ended. The commanders returned to their ships. The fleet began to move. Kresval Station hung in space like a metal spider, its 8 arms extended outward, each one a manufacturing facility capable of producing the most powerful weapons in Zekthar arsenal. Thousands of workers moved through the corridors. Engineers tested new missile designs. Security forces patrolled the docking bays. The station had operated for 20 cycles without incident. Today would be different. Station Commander Kelvas was reviewing production reports when the alarms began screaming. His 4 hands jerked in surprise, spilling his beverage across the desk. What is happening? He demanded, activating his communication panel. Unknown vessels approaching. The security chief shouted through the speaker. Multiple contacts. They just appeared from FTL jump. Kelvas ran to the command center. The tactical display showed hundreds of red dots surrounding the station. His blood went cold. Identify them. Reading human design signatures, the tactical officer said, his voice shaking. Commander, those are Earth ships. Hundreds of them. That's impossible, Kelvas whispered. The humans barely have a space fleet. They can't. The first railgun shot punched through the station's outer hull. Then another. Then 100 more. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the ECS Retribution and watched the battle unfold. The human fleet had emerged from faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, surrounding Kresval Station completely. There would be no escape. All batteries, fire at will, she ordered calmly. The fleet opened fire. Railguns launched solid projectiles at incredible speed. Each slug was the size of a car and moving fast enough to punch through almost any armor. Missiles followed. Conventional explosives and nuclear warheads. Laser batteries carved glowing lines across the darkness, slicing into the station's defensive systems. Kresval Station tried to fight back. Its point defense weapons activated, tracking the incoming fire. Its own missile batteries launched counterattacks. But the station had been built to manufacture weapons, not to defend against a full military assault. And the Zekthar had never imagined humans could mount such an attack. Target their weapons factories first, Chen commanded. I want those production facilities destroyed completely. The human ships focused their fire. One by one, the station's 8 arms were blown apart. Explosions rippled through the manufacturing sections. Secondary detonations followed as stored munitions cooked off. The station that had built the 12 missiles used against Earth was being torn to pieces. Chen watched without expression. Somewhere in those explosions were the workers who had assembled the weapons. The engineers who had designed them, the commanders who had approved them. She felt no joy at their deaths, but she felt no pity either. They had built the missiles that killed 47 million people. Now they were paying the price. Incoming transmission, the communications officer said. From the station. They're requesting permission to evacuate. Chen considered for a moment. Permission granted. They have 10 minutes to abandon station. After that, we finish this. Escape pods began launching from Kresval Station, small craft fleeing the dying structure. Chen watched them go. Her orders were clear. Destroy the military capability but allow surrendering personnel to escape. Humanity would not murder defenseless beings, even enemies. 10 minutes passed. Resume fire, Chen ordered. Finish it. The fleet concentrated all firepower on the station's central core. Nuclear missiles slammed into the reactor sections. Railgun slugs tore through structural supports. Kresval Station broke apart in a final series of explosions, scattering debris across the system. The facility that had manufactured the missiles used against Earth no longer existed. Battle complete, the tactical officer reported. Station destroyed. Our casualties, none. Minor damage to 3 ships already being repaired. Chen nodded. Broadcast to the fleet, Kresval Station has been eliminated. This is for the 47 million. Now we wait for the Zekthar response. She did not have to wait long. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council chambers erupted in chaos. Representatives from 200 species shouted at each other in a dozen languages. The holographic displays showed footage of Kresval Station's destruction on repeat. The Zekthar ambassador was screaming demands for intervention. The human ambassador stood quietly at her podium, waiting for the noise to die down. Finally, the council speaker called for order. Ambassador Williams, the Zekthar sovereignty demands an explanation. Your species just destroyed a major military installation without provocation or warning. Ambassador Sarah Williams looked at the speaker calmly. Without provocation? 6 months ago, the Zekthar fired 12 missiles at Earth. They did not declare war. They did not issue warnings. They simply attacked, hoping to kill enough of us that we would surrender. 47 million human civilians died. That is irrelevant to... The Zekthar ambassador began. It is entirely relevant, Williams interrupted, her voice sharp. The facility we destroyed today was where those missiles were manufactured. We targeted a military installation responsible for weapons used against our world. We even allowed their personnel to evacuate before destroying the station. She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of various ambassadors. The Galactic Council did nothing when Earth was attacked. You sent thoughts and prayers, but no aid. You told us to negotiate with the species that murdered millions of our people. Well, Earth has decided to handle this ourselves. We will accept nothing less than unconditional Zekthar surrender and full accountability. This is not a negotiation. This is a statement of fact. The chamber fell silent. The other species realized something important. Humanity was not asking for permission. They were informing the Council of what was going to happen. If the sovereignty surrenders now, Williams continued, we will accept it and hold trials for those responsible. If they choose to continue this conflict, we will dismantle their military capability piece by piece. The choice is theirs. She sat down. The Zekthar ambassador looked like he might have a heart attack. High Commander Vexron received the news about Kresval Station and went into a rage. He threw equipment across his bridge. His officers cowered, afraid to speak. How, Vexron demanded. How did the humans build such a fleet in 6 months? No one had an answer. The intelligence had been wrong. Completely catastrophically wrong. Earth was not defenseless. They had used the 6 months of silence to prepare for war, and they had done it with terrifying efficiency. Recall all military forces, Vexron ordered. I want every ship, every weapon, every soldier brought to defend the core worlds. If the humans want to fight, we will crush them with our full might. His tactical officer hesitated. High Commander, our total fleet numbers 800 vessels, but they are scattered across 17 systems. It will take time to... Then start now, Vexron roared. I want them assembled within 2 cycles. We will show these primitives what real military power looks like. The orders went out. Across Zekthar space, warships began moving toward a central rally point. 800 ships, the full military might of the sovereignty, gathering to crush the human threat once and for all. It would be the largest fleet the Zekthar had ever assembled. They thought it would be enough. On the ECS Retribution, Admiral Chen received the intelligence reports. The Zekthar were massing their fleet. 800 ships converging on a single location. Her tactical officer looked worried. Admiral, they outnumber us almost 3 to 1. Should we request reinforcements from Earth? Chen studied the star map thoughtfully. 800 ships against 300. Poor odds by conventional thinking. But conventional thinking had not prepared the Zekthar for what humanity could do. No reinforcements, she said finally. We'll face them with what we have. But I want all ships equipped with the new weapons packages, cyber warfare teams on full alert, and make sure every railgun is loaded with the relativistic rounds. The officer swallowed hard. The relativistic rounds? Admiral, those are terrifying? Chen finished. Yes, that's the point. The Zekthar wanted to scare us into surrender. Instead, we're going to teach them what fear really means. She looked at the star map again, at the red icon showing where the enemy fleet was gathering. Plot a course, she ordered. We're going to meet them head on. The Proxima Vale Nebula glowed with purple and blue gases, a beautiful cloud of cosmic dust stretching across millions of miles. Normally, ships avoided the region because the dense particles interfered with sensors and communications. Today, it would become a battlefield. High Commander Vexron stood at the center of his flagship bridge, surrounded by holographic displays showing his assembled fleet. 800 warships arranged in perfect military formation, the pride of the Zekthar sovereignty. Every vessel was armed with plasma cannons, missile batteries, and energy shields. This was more firepower than had been assembled in 50 cycles. "The human fleet has been detected," his tactical officer reported. 300 ships approaching from Vector 7. "Only 300? Vexron clicked his mandibles in satisfaction. "They are fools to face us with such poor numbers. All ships, prepare for battle. We will crush them quickly and then proceed to Earth. This ends today." The Zekthar fleet moved forward, weapons charging, confident in their numerical superiority. Admiral Chen watched the enemy approach on her tactical display. The Zekthar ships moved in traditional formation, tight and organized, designed to concentrate firepower. It was exactly what she expected. They were fighting the way they always fought, following the tactics that had won them victories over 17 other worlds. But they had never fought humans before. "All ships," Chen transmitted to the fleet. "Execute protocol disproportionate response. Remember who we fight for." Throughout the human fleet, crews acknowledged the order. On every ship, holographic displays activated showing names and faces. Maria Gonzalez, age 7. Dr. James Chen, the Okonkwo family. 47 million others. The dead watched from the screens. A constant reminder of why the fleet was here. "Enemy in range," the tactical officer said. "They're firing." Plasma bolts and missiles streaked across space toward the human ships. The first wave of attacks struck human shields and armor. Several vessels took damage. 2 were destroyed, their crews lost in explosions of fire and metal. The Zekthar fleet commanders cheered. The humans were dying. Victory was close. Then humanity fired back and the battle changed completely. "Launch relativistic rounds," Chen ordered coldly. From the human ships, special railguns fired projectiles that were different from conventional ammunition. These were small, dense slugs accelerated to 90% the speed of light. At that velocity, they carried energy that normal matter could not match. Einstein's equations ensured that even a small mass moving that fast hit with the force of nuclear weapons. The relativistic rounds crossed the distance to the Zekthar fleet in seconds. There was no dodging, no defending. The first slug hit a Zekthar cruiser and the ship simply exploded, torn apart by the kinetic energy. Then another ship died. Then another. In 30 seconds, the human fleet fired 200 relativistic rounds. Each one destroyed or crippled a Zekthar vessel. The enemy formation, so perfect and organized moments before, fell into chaos. "What are they firing?" Vexron screamed. "Our shields aren't stopping anything." "Unknown weapon type," his tactical officer stammered. "High-velocity kinetic projectiles. They're moving too fast for our point defense systems to target." More ships exploded. The Zekthar fleet tried to return fire, but the human vessels were moving in patterns the aliens had never seen. They scattered and regrouped. They attacked from unexpected angles. They used the nebula's gas clouds for cover, appearing and disappearing like ghosts. "Activate cyber warfare protocols," Chen ordered. In the depths of the human ships, teams of programmers launched their attack. Digital weapons, invisible but deadly, raced through space on tight beam transmissions. They found the Zekthar communication networks and slipped through the security like water through a net. Zekthar ships suddenly found their own systems turning against them. Point defense guns stopped tracking human missiles and started firing at their own vessels. Navigation computers gave false readings. Targeting systems locked onto friendly ships instead of enemies. "We're shooting ourselves," a Zekthar captain screamed. "Our computers have been compromised." Across the enemy fleet, similar cries of confusion and panic echoed. The Zekthar had never faced cyber warfare on this scale. They did not know how to fight an enemy that could turn their own weapons against them. "Human vessels broadcasting on all frequencies," the communications officer on Vexron's flagship reported. "What are they saying?" They're reading names, High Commander. Human names. Thousands of them." Chen had ordered the broadcast personally. From every human ship, speakers transmitted the names of the dead. Maria Gonzalez, Dr. James Chen, the Okonkwo family. 47 million names read aloud in a constant stream that filled every communication channel. It was psychological warfare, and it was terrifyingly effective. The Zekthar crews heard the names and understood. These humans were not fighting for territory or resources. They were fighting for their dead. This was personal in a way the Zekthar had never experienced. "All ships, retreat," Vexron ordered desperately. "Fall back to Rally Point Beta." But retreating from humans was not easy. The human ships pursued relentlessly, firing continuously. Nuclear missiles detonated in the middle of Zekthar formations. Railguns punched through armor. Cyber attacks continued to wreak havoc on enemy systems. The battle lasted 4 hours. When it finally ended, the Zekthar fleet had been destroyed. Of the 800 ships that had entered the Proxima Vale Nebula, fewer than 100 escaped. The human fleet had lost 32 vessels, but the exchange rate was devastating for the sovereignty. Vexron's flagship was among the survivors, but barely. Half its weapons were offline. The engines were damaged. Emergency crews worked to patch hull breaches. "Report," Vexron demanded, his voice hollow. 700 ships lost, the tactical officer said quietly. "We've lost most of our fleet, High Commander. The sovereignty's military is gone." Vexron stared at the tactical display, unable to process what had happened. In a single engagement, humanity had destroyed centuries of military buildup. The species he had thought weak and primitive had just won the most one-sided space battle in galactic history. But Chen was not done. "Pursue the retreating vessels," she ordered. "Follow them back to Zekthar space. I want every military installation they have documented and destroyed. Shipyards, weapons factories, command centers, all of it." The human fleet jumped to FTL, chasing the surviving Zekthar ships. Over the next 2 weeks, humanity systematically dismantled the sovereignty's ability to wage war. Every shipyard was destroyed. Every weapons factory was bombed into rubble. Every military command center was eliminated with surgical precision. Chen made it clear, civilian areas were not to be targeted. Hospitals, schools, residential zones were left untouched. But anything that could build weapons or train soldiers was destroyed. The Zekthar civilian population watched in horror as their military collapsed. Protests erupted on the homeworld. Citizens demanded to know why their government had started a war with such a terrifying enemy. Why had they attacked Earth? The sovereignty's government had no good answers. On the 5th planet of the Zekthar home system, Governor Meltrix addressed a crowd of 10,000 civilians. "We must sue for peace," he declared. "This war is destroying us. We attacked them without cause, and now we are paying the price. The High Command must surrender before there is nothing left." Similar scenes played out across Zekthar space. The civilians, who had never wanted war in the first place, turned against their own leadership. 3 Zekthar colonies formally seceded from the sovereignty, declaring they would not fight for a government that had brought this destruction upon them. The Galactic Council watched everything in stunned silence. Humanity had not just won a battle. They had dismantled an entire military power in less than a month. It was a demonstration of warfare on a scale the galaxy had rarely seen. And the message was clear: do not attack Earth. In the council chambers, Ambassador Williams addressed the assembly. "The Zekthar sovereignty has been militarily defeated. We are prepared to accept their surrender, but we will not negotiate terms. The terms are unconditional: complete surrender, war crimes trials for those who ordered the attack on Earth, and reparations for the victims' families." The Zekthar ambassador, a different individual than before, nodded weakly. We accept all terms. The sovereignty surrenders unconditionally." Williams nodded. "Then the war is over. Earth will send peacekeeping forces to ensure compliance. Justice will be served." She sat down, and the chamber remained quiet. Every species in the council had learned something today. Humanity, the newcomers, the primitives, had just rewritten the rules of galactic warfare. And they had done it to protect their dead. The trial chamber in Geneva was designed to look simple and dignified. No grand decorations, no intimidating architecture. Just a clean room with seats for the defendants, the judges, and the observers. Cameras recorded everything for broadcast across the galaxy. 23 Zekthar officials sat in the defendants section. High Commander Vexron was among them. Also present were the members of the Sovereignty High Council, who had authorized the attack, the weapons engineers who had designed the missiles, and the intelligence officers who had recommended Earth as an easy target. They all looked smaller now, without their military uniforms and symbols of authority. They wore simple gray clothing. Their hands were bound. Guards stood nearby, though none of the defendants showed any will to resist. The lead judge, Justice Maria Kobayashi, looked at the defendants carefully. "You are charged with crimes against sapient life. Specifically, the unprovoked attack on Earth that resulted in the deaths of 47 million human civilians. You are also charged with violations of galactic warfare conventions, including failure to issue a declaration of war and deliberate targeting of non-combatant populations." She paused, letting the words settle. How do you plead? The defendant's lawyer, a human assigned to ensure fair representation, stood. Your Honor, my clients plead guilty to all charges. They wish to make statements accepting responsibility. Murmurs ran through the observation gallery. The Galactic Council had sent representatives to watch. News organizations from 200 worlds had cameras present. Everyone wanted to see how humanity would handle justice. Vexron stood slowly. His 6 eyes looked tired. I ordered the attack on Earth. I believed humans were weak and would surrender quickly. I was wrong, he paused. I did not know humans. I did not understand what they were capable of. But that is not an excuse. I killed 47 million beings. I accept responsibility. I accept whatever punishment this court decides. One by one, the other defendants made similar statements. Some cried. Some simply stared at the floor. All of them acknowledged their guilt. The trial lasted 3 weeks. Evidence was presented. Witnesses testified. Survivors of the attack spoke about what they had lost. The families of the dead shared their stories. Through it all, the defendants listened. They were not mistreated. They were given food, medical care, and opportunities to defend themselves. The human justice system was thorough but fair. In the end, all 23 were found guilty. Justice Kobayashi read the sentences. High Commander Vexron, you are sentenced to execution for crimes against sapient life. Your actions led directly to 47 million deaths. You will be given 1 month to appeal this decision, as is your right under international law. Vexron nodded slowly. He did not appeal. The other defendants received varying sentences. Some were executed. Others received life imprisonment. The sentences were based on individual levels of responsibility and involvement. Throughout the process, humanity demonstrated something important to the watching galaxy. They could be ruthless in war, but civilized in peace. They followed their own laws even when dealing with enemies. Justice was real, not revenge. On the anniversary of the attack, a memorial was unveiled on the cliffs overlooking the Atlantic Ocean, where the 12th missile had struck. It was a simple structure, a wall of black stone stretching for miles. Carved into the stone were 47 million names. President Chen stood at the dedication ceremony, the same Chen who had led the fleet as an admiral. She looked out at the crowd of survivors and families. We built this memorial so that no one will forget, she said quietly. 47 million people died because aliens thought we were weak. They thought we would surrender. They were wrong. She touched the stone wall, running her fingers over the names. We fought, we won, and we ensured that justice was served. But victory does not bring back the dead. Justice does not heal all wounds. So we remember. We remember every single person. And we promise that their deaths were not meaningless. They changed humanity. They changed the galaxy. The crowd was silent. Many were crying. The Zekthar attacked us to take our resources and make us slaves, President Chen continued. Instead, they awakened something they did not understand. They forced us to show the galaxy what humans become when pushed to the edge. We became warriors. We became judges. And now we must become something else. She looked up at the sky. We must become builders. We must be teachers. We must show the galaxy that humanity is not just capable of destruction, but also of creation. We will help rebuild what the war destroyed. We will ensure the Zekthar people who never wanted this war can have a future. We will be better than our enemies were. In Zekthar space, the work of rebuilding had already begun. Human peacekeeping forces helped maintain order. Human engineers assisted with reconstruction. The sovereignty had been dissolved, replaced by a democratic federation of independent worlds. It was not easy. Many Zekthar resented the humans. Many humans wanted nothing to do with the species that had attacked Earth. But slowly, painfully, the two species learned to coexist. On one of the former sovereignty worlds, a young Zekthar named Kixra attended a school rebuilt with human assistance. She was 7 cycles old, the same age Maria Gonzalez had been when she died. Kixra's teacher, a human named David Thompson, taught the class about the war. He did not hide the truth. He showed them footage of the attack on Earth. He showed them the memorial with 47 million names. He explained what the sovereignty had done and why it was wrong. Both our species lost people in this war, Thompson told the class. Humans lost 47 million in the initial attack. Zekthar lost hundreds of thousands in the fighting that followed. War is terrible. It hurts everyone. Kixra raised her small hand. Why didn't humans destroy all of us? They were strong enough. They won the war. Thompson smiled sadly. Because humans don't want to destroy people. We wanted justice, not genocide. We wanted the ones responsible to be punished. But we don't blame children for what their leaders did. You didn't start the war, Kixra. You shouldn't have to pay for it. The young Zekthar thought about this. When I grow up, I want to help. I want to make sure our people never do something like that again. That's a good goal, Thompson said gently. In the Galactic Council chambers, humanity had been granted a permanent seat. It was not given out of love or friendship. It was given out of respect and, if the delegates were honest, a healthy amount of fear. Ambassador Williams addressed the council on the topic of military regulations. Earth proposes new restrictions on first strike warfare. Any species that launches an unprovoked attack on another species should face immediate council intervention. We cannot allow what happened to Earth to happen to others. The proposal was debated for weeks, but eventually it passed. The galaxy had seen what humans could do when attacked. No one wanted to risk another conflict like that. 5 years after the war, Admiral Chen retired. She was old now, tired from years of combat and command. She returned to Earth and took a small house near the memorial. Every morning she walked along the wall of names. She read them aloud, a different section each day. It would take years to read all 47 million, but she had the time. One morning a young woman approached her. She looked nervous. "Admiral Chen?" the woman asked. "I'm sorry to bother you. My name is Sarah. My parents died in the attack. Their names are on the wall." Chen nodded gently. "I'm not an admiral anymore. Just Chen, would you like to walk with me?" They walked together, and Sarah showed her where her parents' names were carved. James and Linda Morrison. Chen stood quietly for a moment. "I knew your father," Chen said softly. "General Morrison. He was at the command center when the missile hit. He stayed at his post until the last moment, trying to save as many people as possible." Sarah wiped tears from her eyes. "I was only 12 when it happened. I wanted to hate the Zekthar forever. But then I saw how you handled the peace, how you helped rebuild their worlds, how you made sure their children could have a future. Your father believed in justice, not revenge," Chen said. "We fought the war he would have wanted. We won the peace he would have been proud of." They stood together in silence, looking at the names on the wall. Above them, a ship lifted off from the nearby spaceport. It was a mixed crew, humans and Zekthar working together, heading out to explore new systems and establish trade routes. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Humanity had proven they could fight when necessary. They had shown they could win against superior numbers. But more importantly, they had demonstrated they could show mercy and build peace after victory. The memorial stood as a reminder. 47 million names, 47 million reasons why the galaxy would never underestimate Earth again. And carved at the base of the memorial, visible to everyone who visited, was a simple inscription. They fired 12 missiles at Earth to make us surrender. Instead, they taught the galaxy that humanity will cross the stars themselves to demand justice for every single soul. We remember, we honor, we endure. The stars above continued to shine, peaceful and quiet, and Earth, the small blue planet that had survived the attack and won the war that followed, stood as a testament to what humans could achieve when they refused to give up.